So tell me if this sounds familiar. You're standing outside the boss's chamber. Everything you've been working towards has led you to this moment. Every hard-fought battle. Every single one that you've won. Every single one that you've had to retry because you lost. You reach into your backpack. Inside, all your preparation. Your potions of fire resistance, ice resistance, gluten resistance, strength, speed, stamina, charisma, invisibility, dragon's breath, dog's breath. My god, you have a lot of potions. But that's okay, because you've been saving them. You haven't been tempted to use them, because you knew that you'd need them for a moment just like this. But which ones should you use? Oh no. Which ones should you use? You know what? Maybe you should just fall back on your health and mana potions like you always do. Maybe you'll need the other ones for something else? Who knows? So often a well thought out and balanced system for food, potions, stim packs, whatever a game's go-to consumable power-up is, becomes underutilized as players stockpile ever increasingly ridiculous amounts of these otherwise probably very useful items in their inventories. And why? Because you're all a bunch of filthy, greedy hoarders, that's why. But seriously, I think this whole issue probably comes down to mostly just one factor: information. So let's look to a few examples from gaming to try and better illustrate the problem, and more importantly, to find a few solutions. Skyrim probably handles consumables in a way that many of us would consider close to a standard model. This means that besides the obligatory healing potions and mana potions and food to help keep your character alive in a fight, there are a whole slew of other potions, each with its own temporary bonus. For example, we have invisibility potions to help you sneak or steal, resistance potions to keep you alive in more specific circumstances, and so on. Yeah, the hoarding problem. Well, that arises when we start to consider that without the knowledge of exactly what a player has in their inventory when they're going into a challenge or an encounter, oftentimes designers have to make sure that those challenges and fights are absolutely winnable without any of these consumables, so they aren't mandatory. And when you consider, especially in a large open world where the player is free to roam around wherever they want, they could anticipate running into a much larger enemy or challenge at any moment. This makes knowing exactly when the right time to use these very expendable resources is very difficult. This by no means that Skyrim does a bad job of this. It can still be an absolute blast to especially play an alchemy-based character in the game and constantly create a huge smorgasbord of potions to use and abuse as you make your way through the game's challenges. But as any game design enthusiast who might be watching this show will probably attest, what your game's mechanics are capable of and what your players choose to do with them can be two very different things. So let's see if we can find some games who, with a little out-the-box thinking, have found a way to have their players tackle this issue from a completely different mindset. World of Warcraft handles this in a pretty simple, if pretty effective manner. Firstly, besides having the usual healing potions and mana potions that can be used in a pinch, all of the potions that provide you with other bonus effects will generally last anywhere between 15 minutes and 2 hours. This means that you'll be more comfortable using them in preparation for a whole number of challenges or a really big dungeon run rather than waiting for a perfect moment during a fight that may or may not ever come. Slay the Spire. Here we have an awesome little title that hit the streaming market a while ago and went big, and they solved this problem by eliminating it altogether. They have some advantages, being a turn-based game, a lot like D&D, which allows them to, well, offer you what the other games just couldn't. That perfect information that makes making a decision in those other games so difficult. In Slay the Spire, much like in D&D, being turn-based, you have as much time as you need to make a decision carefully and consider every little detail. And speaking of every little detail, they give you every little detail. I mean information so far as to give you exactly what an opponent plans to do on their next turn of combat. This really helps in the decision-making process. The game really drives this home by only allowing you to carry a small amount of these consumables on you at any one given time. This means that if you continue playing the game without actively using them, eventually you're either going to have to drop one or fail to pick one up due to your inventory already being full. On its surface, The Witcher 3 may seem to use resources like this in a manner that's very similar to Skyrim, but it does have a few key differences. One of which being that after you've crafted a potion for the first time in their alchemy system, from that point on, it and every other potion that you've crafted using the same method are all easily refillable from one universal resource. This is great because this means that you only ever have to worry about how many potions you're using total. That, and if you find yourself relying more on one type of potion and ignoring certain other ones, you don't end up having this situation where you're constantly out of stock of your preferred playstyle potions and constantly stocking up on the potions that you don't use at all, filling up your inventory. Man, this game is awesome. So this is usually the part of the video where I say something to the effect of, but how do we use this in our home D&D games? Truth is, you can probably just take a whole bunch of these mechanics wholesale from the examples we gave, or even try and take bits and pieces and mishmash your own together, or even find some other examples of games that do it completely differently. With nothing but a little research and some homebrew know-how, and you can have consumables in your game go from that emergency panic button for a perfect moment that may or may not ever come, and become an integral part of the mythology, the lore, and the mechanical fun that goes into your D&D campaign. Thanks for watching.
Jonah, like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. Don't just like and subscribe, please.
Sorry, you're doing great.
Have a good day.